So this is the final team of recordings for our session this evening, and I'm bringing that up because every team we've talked about, we're in the playoffs, have a core that they're really tied up to financially, and they're trying to compete, right? And this evening, I've blown up a lot of those teams. I've really shifted a lot of that, and Brooklyn's been I guess, affected by some of those moves. And I'm bringing this all up because Brooklyn is on a different trajectory now. And this is a trajectory I agree with. And I'm actually going to stay pretty steady here. Brooklyn, they had their nice little moment with the big three, the best big three of all time that played 13 games in total and never really did anything. And if not for a big toe, maybe they're champions. Who knows? It's fun. It's a big what if, but there's not much that Brooklyn can do here. They either keep this core together and try to build something and move some pieces because they've got a lot of 3 and D players that other teams may be interested in, but there's not a free agent class. And I don't know about you, but I tried to stay consistent. So if I did something to one team, I wanted it to happen again to the other team. And so this is really easy for me. The 3 moves that I'm doing. Ben Simmons goes for Cat. I feel a little unwell in the stomach every time I mention him, but I'm sure Brooklyn wants to get off that contract, and Cat's a great return piece for it. Maybe they've got to give up some picks. I think they still do it. Cam Johnson, I think you re-sign him. I think you want to build around Mikal Bridges, and the reason why I'm bringing him up in Cam Johnson is they're very close, and sometimes you do moves to make people happy. And Cam Johnson, I'm not discrediting him. Great 3 and D player, young, clearly can build into something. Six-man of the year contender at one point, but you sign him because Mikal Bridges wants him to be signed. And I think that's important for a culture standpoint. And then you just wait until about the midseason because you've got a couple of interesting players like Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith and even Joe Harris, right? You've got players that other teams may or may not have interest in by the midseason trade deadline when I think they're a competitive position. And I think that's Brooklyn's position. They collect some young assets. They see what they can do with, young talent, but they've got pieces that they can pivot off. But Brooklyn, I know you want to make every team win, but I'm realistic here. This team's not going to be winning next season, and those are my moves.
Hey, look, I'm going to somewhat agree with you. I don't think Brooklyn are going to win a ring next year. All right. But every team, I think, has to remain optimistic that they can get better. And I think, and that's the reality though, is that that's not always going to occur. Okay, but I think you need to make moves and sort of identify opportunities that continue to make your organization, your roster better. So here's my few items here for the Brooklyn Nets that they need to consider this offseason. Firstly, play Cam Thomas. This kid scored, what, 40 points, I think, in 4 straight games or something like that, or 5 straight games, which was like a record of a player coming off the bench or something like that, I think. I don't know, some crazy stat like that last year. Right now, you need to play him to figure out whether he's a keeper or trade asset. Okay, we know he can score, but can he impact winning? I don't know. And I think the Nets are probably in a position where they actually don't know that either. So I think they need to figure out how their starting lineup looks, and obviously through a series of moves. I agree that Cam Johnson probably should be re-signed and kept on the payroll. Maybe some of the other slightly older options need to be traded for whatever might be out there. I haven't sort of explored that, but they've got definitely a log jam at that sort of 2 through to 4 position on the roster there, where these players can all sort of interchange and switch and stuff like that. And yeah, look, I don't know. I can't. If you keep them all, then good luck from the coaching staff to figure out who should play and what minutes they should get to sort of somehow win meaningful games somewhat. But I think Cam Thomas, though, out of all that, needs to be afforded the opportunity to play, and we see what, and the Nets ultimately see what they have there. Obviously, something we've both touched upon, and I think we agree on this point, is that trade Ben Simmons. Okay. Now, I think the part here is that what can you get for him? Hey, seriously, if your trade went through that, T Wolves were happy to trade Ben Simmons for Cat, you do that in a heartbeat. I think you sort of think about it for about 30 seconds, right, as the Nets front office, and you sort of go away for 30 seconds and go, am I dreaming? Because, if that trade fell into your laps, you pull that trigger immediately. But I don't think that's going to happen. It's not going to happen. I don't, in any wildest fantasy, let's be clear. But whatever you can get for Ben Simmons, I think you definitely have to explore. And I don't know. Again, you could look at every single team nearly and go and try and put a package together to try and trade for him, whether it's a series of picks or prospects or even potential fringe all stars or something along those lines, or aging all stars perhaps. I don't know. Okay. But you definitely want to try and move on from Ben Simmons and just get him off your roster. You don't even need him there, as a distraction in that sort of sense. Get a full year of Mikal Bridges. I think that's next on my list. It's a lot of some of these moves that happen around the trade deadline last season. You always, you always sort of want to see a full sort of shake of it, and I think it would be intriguing to see Mikal Bridges as the Nets' number one option. And what it looks like over 82 games. And he's obviously played, I think, 82 games now, 2 years in a row or something like that. He's like a real Iron Man right now. So hopefully he can keep that streak going and play another 82 games this year. And I think the Nets would love to see what they have there. Is he a player that can, get 25 and I don't know, 7 and 7 maybe, something along those sort of stat lines. I think they'll be really happy in that line. But more importantly, can he help them win games? And I'm not saying that they're necessarily going to even make the playoffs in that sense, but can they win 30 games and remain competitive in the in the East somewhat? But look, hey, as part of the fun here is making some trades, right? And obviously Simmons is one of the players that is most easily sort of trying to shift around and stuff like that. And I haven't worked in such a parallel universe where obviously you've swung trades that go both ways and so on and so forth and whatnot. Hey, if you got spare time, dude, you can go away and set your 2K rosters and sim it all out and give me a standing at the end of the year if you like, because you've got a parallel universe. But I got Simmons obviously on the trade block here. Let's send him out. And I'm saying you're looking at another team that obviously has a whole bunch of questions with which direction they're going as well here, which could take a fly on Simmons and just stash him there, whether they play him, they don't play him, whether they buy him out or something along those sort of lines. I don't know. So I'm talking about the Portland Trailblazers, and I'm saying that you could play match your salaries obviously for Simmons for Nurkic and Jeremy Grant. So and I think if you sort of add those two players along with this core, try and figure balance out sort of who's actually playing what and who is a sixth man and so on and so forth. I don't know. I think the Nets here can be competitive. Will they win a ring? No, but they can be competitive, and that's probably a good starting point from where they're at now to build on for the next few years.
I mean, the one thing that's kind of come out of all of this is out of all the teams that we talked about this evening, this is the lowest stakes team, right? And it doesn't really matter what they choose to do outside of getting rid of Ben Simmons. They're taking steps in a direction, and whatever path that they're ready to be on really won't be revealed for another couple of seasons. So I'm glad that we're in agreement that Ben Simmons needs to go.
This is two guys with spare time. I'm Faz, this is Nick. You're probably a basketball fan like us, so hopefully you can throw us an assist and giving our video a like and subscribing to our channel.
And if you got thoughts, feelings, or even some suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. And thank you for using your spare time to watch us in our spare time.